call to order. Please stand for the pledge.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Clerk Miller, could you please take roll call?
Sure can. Carlson.
Present.
Crowley.
Present.
Cody.
Here.
Jeff Conway is absent. Craig Strumka.
Here.
Danielle.
Here.
Morgan.
Here.
Nikki Miller here.
Thank you.
Right? Yeah.
Okay. Looking at the agenda, we have the HVAC agreement, which is an action item, the handbooks, which is an update, not an action item, and then meal prices, which is an action item. Are there any changes or modifications? Okay. HVAC joint powers agreement. So we have received several attachments, including the updated one. Eric or Mindy, did you want to say anything to introduce this or say anything further about it?
Well, if you scroll down to the last page, it'll give the actual impact to La Crescent. So a $300,000 house will be taxed $45 a year for La Crescent. And it's just interesting, so I'm from Spring Grove, and I saw that a $300,000 house in Spring Grove, which I'm not sure exists, but if there was one, it'd be $58. That doesn't make sense to me because it's a lot cheaper living on that side of the county than here. But anyways, yeah. So that's the tax impact for 15 years to our district.
On that note, if you look at the starred piece way at the bottom for ag property, a 300-acre homestead farm is actually going to go up about 306. So if you take the average value of the land per acre, that's taxed at 72%, and then I actually have it all written here if you want to look at it, Eric, but then you have to take the market value for the house and the garage and then the 1 acre that those are on, and then that is taxed and added up differently. So you have $216 for the ag land plus the $90 for the house, which comes out to about 306 tax increase for rural properties around us.
For how many acres? 300?
Yep.
Wow.
So, Darcy, can I ask just a
Seems cheap.
new to the area question?
Mhm.
What is like the proportion of ag land and residential land? Because someone from the county said that it wasn't much ag land. When I was talking, they said there wasn't much ag land. But is it then that people who have ag land have larger parcels?
Typically.
Is that okay? I'm just trying to understand.
Much larger.
It's it's
We
so
would
different
have
up
far
north.
less than Caledonia.
Correct. Or Spring Grove.
Okay. And maybe that's what the county person was talking about, is that it's much less in comparison to others. Yes, because they said, because I'd asked that a while back, something about ag land when I was at a county meeting, and they said, no, you guys don't have much, but it must have been comparatively. That helps. Thank you. So if I can do a couple, okay, so I just got 3 minutes ago from Bill Erke that St. Charles approved the JTBA amendments. And Deb sent me another thing a little while ago, I guess it was 3 days ago, I didn't look at it then. But basically what I've been told, and this is just, and Eric backed me up, so talking to the other superintendents, there have been multiple properties that HVED has tried to go for over the past several years, and for one reason or another, they all fell through. And according to several of the superintendents, they said, and this is the best of the ones that we've had. So like Kufal has been there forever. Craig Erke, who's been in this area for 20 plus years, they all kind of said this, this is the best thing going. Pam, from what I understand, has done some research and looked into some of the other, the other project that was going on with the newly built, that we saw the comparison pictures to, and what it would be to get in with them. And it didn't seem to be a real appreciable difference. I think it was under $10 a month, but I don't know if that went for a longer duration of time or if it was still the 15 years. He didn't really talk to that.
And this is the Caledonia superintendent?
No, this is the PEM superintendent.
Okay, the brother, okay.
This one, St. Charles, is the brother. St. Charles and Caledonia are brother superintendents. And so that's, facilities-wise, that's what I know. The one thing that concerns me is right now, when you looked at those pictures, our kids who are struggling learners, our autism, our ASD kids, go to locations that are way subpar compared to what our regular ed kids are going to. And if we're trying to move them forward, that's, those are the things that I look at. I also don't necessarily like the idea of taxing people extra. You know what I mean? That's
Especially after the new building and then all the improvements
You know.
voted to make this year.
but I did, and a couple of people asked about why I wanted to make sure we had this meeting today. And it's really so that every district has their voice and can say what they think. I know they're going back to meet with Caledonia. I don't know if any board members from other cities have called any of you. But that was one of the things that that they were talking about doing, is superintendents were going to ask board members of groups that hadn't made a decision yet to give them a call and talk through some things. So from a board-to-board perspective, you had a good idea of what's going on, but evidently that didn't happen. So, and maybe they were only talking about doing it with the Caledonia board.
Well, and I heard when they meet back with the Caledonia board that they're going to make a couple different stipulations and try to look at some other funding options that would make it less burdensome for the taxpayers,
Okay.
as well as HVED giving their board a couple of other assurances in writing. So,
Okay. And so, I know they lowered this, right, Craig? Right, Eric?
Yeah,
Right.
from
I'm
18 to
thinking of
15, yep.
HVED, or the Caledonia SIP. 8 to 15, 15 years.
Yep.
And I don't know if we're at the point yet where the size of it will make it non-taxable, the land, okay? The mall.
Oh,
You know,
you
'cause
mean
they're-
because of the two
yeah.
businesses?
Two
Yeah,
businesses
so it's
that
under
have-
the threshold, so it will be non-taxed.
It will be non-taxable. Okay, I
Otherwise,
hadn't
we'll
heard the
kick out
last one.
one of the two, because it's not worth having an in-house pays lab to pay taxes. It's dumb.
Yeah.
So,
So
Okay,
that's,
and anything else?
nope, that's it.
Okay, would anyone like to make a motion, and then we can, enter into discussion?
I'll move,
To,
approve the HVED joint powers agreement.
is there a second? Is there a second? Okay, no second? Would anyone like to make a different motion?
I move to not approve the agreement.
Is there a second?
I second.
Okay. And now we're in discussion, and, Darcy? Any discussion, please?
Yeah, I just wanted to bring up that one of the stipulations that Caledonia is asking them for is that non-member districts stop receiving services or pay a higher fee. So having this building located in Winona as a community receives a lot of benefits from having that building there. And they are a non-member district. They are not on this tax table. Their community is not burdened by it at all, and their students are going there. And I understand kids need help.
That's where I
but
stand
it's-
also.
It's not fair to our taxpayers, and we always want to do what's best for the kids, but part of our job is also budgeting the taxpayers' money. We've done a lot of increases lately, and
Yeah, so the building,
I can't, with good conscience,
buying a building in
do this again.
a town that's not even a member,
Mhm.
adding that tax revenue that, because people come into town for it, and
The
now
extra jobs.
And go out to eat.
go out to eat, and they're not even a member, not even getting taxed on this building. They're not even paying for it.
If you look at how it's broken down to commercial property, you know, Winona has a lot more commercial property than we have here, and that benefits schools greatly. And that's one area that we really struggle in for a tax base, because we're landlocked and, you know, we're mainly residential. We don't get a lot of the ag tax, we don't get a lot of the commercial tax. It's all on those residents.
Also, it's not centrally located with all the other schools that are on the membership. It seems not really, seems more off to one side. It's close to us, but it's also far away from.
If you look at the number of kids that it affects and helps, it's a very small portion of our students. And then you have the kids that, we have a larger portion actually going to HOKA than we do to Kellogg. And we have, I know an hour on a bus is a long time, but we have kids that come to this school that sit an hour on the bus. So it's not completely unreasonable. Children in every district, even in the public school, not displaced, drive an hour on the bus. So.
Nikki?
And we're in discussion, and I just want to also speak to what Mindy was talking about earlier, about it being to the best interest of the students and families too, to make sure they're getting the quality they deserve to progress and move forward in a program to live their best life when school's done. My question is, if our commitment would be, I'm just throwing a ballpark hypothetical out there, if we're spending $150,000 a year for the 15 years toward a building that we're sending a few kids to, why are we not able to use that capital to hire PT, psych, whatever it is that needs to fill in the gaps and house those kids right here in our own district?
Two thoughts on that, if it's
Mhm.
okay.
Yeah.
First one, as we price out what the services would be for kids if we had to send them out, because a lot of the kids that go out to Spectrum or Sale are a level of student that we can't serve in the building. So that level of service, like I said, would be Cholita or something like that. There's very limited space open in those places, and they're incredibly expensive. As we went through, and Darren from PEM did it, he's the soup in PEM, and he went through and priced out what the services are, and I think we should be able to get it from our auditors. So they're on site now, so I'm gonna try and have it for the next, you know, as soon as they can get it to me. But from the audit last year, they should have something that says, you know, this is what you pay at Atrium. This is what the state average is. This is what other districts in your area pay that are like-sized districts. So we look at people that, these districts that have the same enrollment as we do. And in PEM's spreadsheet like that, HVED was lower than any of the others, the cost to serve at HVED.
Okay.
The other piece is it's really difficult to find those, because it would only be a 0.2 probably of like a deaf and hard of hearing teacher, or a vision impaired person might be a 0.2 to 0.4. So it's difficult to find.
Okay.
If Houston's doing their own, is there an opportunity to partner with them?
Right.
Like maybe as a future?
Calendar new board members also talked about it.
Yeah,
like co-op with them to have.
Right.
Smaller schools.
Yeah, and
I'd
that
love-
anything is possible.
Yeah, I would love to see the numbers just for perspective, just to be like, okay, is we cannot have them here because we need a secure padded area for safety? Like, what are the, I'd like to see that piece too, like, just to understand. I understand the one-to-one daily services issues when you're dealing with nonverbals.
Well,
And
just because
that
this is turned down,
situation, but,
HVAC isn't gonna just stop.
right,
They just won't be in a different building, so we will still have their services.
right.
I wouldn't, I feel like when we ask questions about, well, where does the money go when you sell your building and the money that you're paying to lease this building, we weren't given really great answers, and that's not how I budget my money. That's not how I would budget the school's money. I would like to see that more built into this, so it's not all taxpayer burden. HVAC has money, and that's not shown in here.
Yeah, no, I understand. Yeah. So I mean, it doesn't help right now, because we obviously haven't had it up until now, that information.
I also asked last week for the numbers of students in every district getting services. That is public information. I have not received that yet.
Okay.
And including Winona or other non-member districts. I want to see the kids being served from everywhere.
In HVAC specifically. Yeah.
And they can give me last year's numbers if they don't have this year's numbers.
Okay.
Yeah, I would say from my perspective, I just don't feel like this has been thought out well enough. I feel like things were getting just like sent at the last minute, and there's not like a well thought out business plan that I'd like to see. Questions that we sent weren't answered, and we just committed our taxpayers to a tax increase, and those are all factors that I took into consideration. Like, do the kids need nicer facilities? Absolutely. Like, yes. If I was voting as an individual taxpayer, I would vote differently than the way I will vote as a board member, because I just don't feel good about committing our district to 15 years when we might not even have kids going there in 5 years. There's no forecasting, there's no way to tell. And so I'm just really not convinced that this is the right thing to do as it stands today. The way they've presented it, the way the documents are written, I just don't think it's in our best interest as written right now.
And if this was an investment that we were seeing something longer term, or like you said, we don't know what 2 years from now looks like. We don't know if we'll have 10 kids or 2.
Right.
And
it says HVAC can't, disband in the 15 years under this agreement. But on 15 years and 1 day, if that building is sold, do we get our share of our investment back? Like, that's not in any of the written documents that I could find, and nor did I get an answer on that.
That's a really good point.
So, yeah, I mean, to your point, I would love if they could consider a location in one of the communities they serve. I'm not opposed to Winona, but I also didn't know that they were serving Winona without having them be in the, and I have concerns with that obviously, but I'm open to a different proposal, but this one for me just isn't gonna cut it as a board member.
So going off of that, and Darcy, what you said about I don't know if they're called, if you call them concessions, or that they're the things they're proposing to Caledonia, or that Caledonia is asking for. I mean, is that something that if those same those same assurances or guarantees or clauses were written in
I'd like
here?
to see there be a much less burden on our taxpayers, and I would like more information on non-district members. I mean, why wouldn't we just be a non-district member and not pay for the building and send our kids? We don't have
And
very many.
the thing I know about that, because that was in our last superintendent's meeting about the non-district members, and we've been talking about that as superintendents ever since I started here. And that, if we have a need and Winona's filling a spot, what do we do? And it should be, member districts.
What was the answer?
And so the answer was that it came from initially, when we didn't fill those spots, wanting to have them filled and paid for so it didn't become more burdensome financially on the other districts, because basically what the cost is of that program is split up among the kids that are enrolled in the districts they belong to. And so if they didn't take the Winona kids, then every kid would have a higher price tag on them for being there. And, you know, and the teachers, that was the initial piece.
Have you seen documentation on that?
Yeah, I have actually. We talked about getting rid of them, but now that was an issue where HVED went to the attorneys, because once the kids are in a program, it makes it a little more burdensome to move them out of a program unless there's a like location that they can go to, because that IEP is a legal document. And so they're still, you know, they're still working through that. But I will tell you, as superintendents, we all feel that way.
At this point, it benefits HVED to take those kids. It just doesn't benefit all the other districts.
And so, you know, and that's like, I was talking to, actually, PD last week.
Who's PD?
Police department.
Oh.
I was talking to Ernster from the police department. And he was talking about something very similar that big cities do when they have a juvenile to place. Like if there's a juvenile that's caused some problems and they need to put him in lockup.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of the cities in the metro will actually buy spots, whether they have kids in them or not, just so that when they need a kid, they can send them there. And that's, you know, larger places will end up doing that, and that's kind of what superintendents have kind of felt has been happening here. But I do know that Winona asked HVED to do a level 4 program and to house more kids in them, and HVED told them absolutely not.
And Winona has a new superintendent. They could go to them and they could add them.
Yep, and they are doing that too.
Haven't yet.
I think they're talking to them. I don't know if they have or if they're going to, but I know that was something I heard too.
I didn't get a clear answer when I was on the phone with them about it.
One thing I'd also like to see is an alternative learning center for high school level kids included in, you know, if they're going to have a facility like that. I realize it wasn't in scope and not offered, but that is a gap that we have, and that, you know, certainly would benefit.
There is an ALC in the Winona Mall property.
For high school?
Yeah. Because right now they're leasing space from, not Winona State, the Southeast Technical College.
Oh, I thought that was only offered online, because I know 2 families that use it, but their kids had to go virtual. They weren't able to do face-to-face.
And did I hear Caledonia has their own ALC?
They've got 2 classrooms at Winona. I don't know if Caledonia has one or not, but
I don't
But
know.
HVED doesn't offer.
I don't know if it's
yeah,
ALC
it's through
or
HVED.
ALP.
HVED is
She
leasing.
said when they were here
It
that
could
they
be
did
one.
not
It's
have.
one of the 2. I'm not sure which one.
Oh, I got a Charlie horse. God bless it.
We're both on it, so.
We didn't mean to get you worked
Oh,
up.
now I got an abdominal going. I'll be back.
A what?
Abdominal.
He has a
Oh.
Charlie horse.
Got it.
So
So my-
HVED, when they were here, their answer was that no, there is not an alternative learning center option in their plan.
We may need to wait for him to come back. to the
Danielle
shop.
and Greg, we want to give you a chance to talk to you for discussion.
I guess
Anything more?
not really. If Winona could be a member, it would be great. I mean, that's my biggest, well, not my biggest, but one of my complaints is the fact that if you're putting a building in Winona and they're not even a member. Put it in Lewiston, put it in St. Charles, put it somewhere that's a member, so that at least they have some sort of stake in the building itself. And I would like to see, like you said, some sort of in writing, if 16 years down the road, if the building gets sold, what happens with that? Because if we put all this money into it, and then they 16 years, they should go bye-bye, and they sell it, 15,
we'll get that
how many millions of dollars go with it?
I believe if HVED dissolves, it gets split among the member districts.
Right, but I didn't see that in writing anywhere, and they didn't answer that question for me, so.
And I'll look back through my emails. I think one of the superintendents emailed that question in and they sent it back, but I don't know. So it wouldn't be in anything official, which is a big problem that has happened there is the communication is just not
Yeah,
there.
it's all like, I
Correct.
heard this, or I was told this, or,
Mhm.
but nothing's in writing, nothing, you know, like, to me,
Never
this
clear
is almost
answers.
like a referendum, where it should be a shiny, glossy, like,
Well, it is, I mean, we're asking our
Right.
taxpayers.
right, but
Hey,
without the information
without the
that to
information.
go along with it, yeah.
Yeah.
It's my overthinking brain, and that might be a little too far, but I might have missed a meeting or something when they talked about liabilities. So like my concern was, why isn't Winona when we talked about it, I was concerned, like, is there a red flag we don't know about that they're not disclosing, why they're not a part of the process and not wanting to be a part of this sale? But there might be more to it behind the scenes that I didn't know about. But the other part of it is, yeah, what if the building crumbles? And where are the liabilities in regards to insurances and
That's
things
all
like that?
That's in the language, in the contract.
It is in there?
Yep, they're
Okay.
responsible for.
Because I just
like,
was curious, what happens if the building falls,
HVAC's responsible for getting
apocalyptic
insurance and all
tornado,
that. That's in the contract.
you know? Okay.
Eric, did you wanna?
Boy, I'd love to.
Thought on the
I'm under the impression that non-member school districts pay a 10% premium for services. I talked to Deb earlier today and I asked that question, but I don't have proof of it. So, all good questions. I'd just like to point out that, you know, special ed and general ed, they're separate, but they're inexorably intertwined. And, you know, how many times have we heard about, for the love of Christ, how many times have we heard about elementary classrooms that get evacuated because there's something happening, behavioral? And then, you know, I asked the question to whoever it was 2 different times. Why aren't we sending these kids to Kellogg? And the answer is the parents don't like the idea of, you know, little Johnny on the bus 1 hour away each way. And so they decline. But we have to teach these kids. And, you know, it seems like special ed is certainly not going away. If anything, you know, the earlier you get to a kid, the better the outcome. And maybe we can even save an IEP from needing to be, you know,
But we have no guarantee that those parents will want to send them to Winona. They could just equally say no and legislate.
you're very right, Darcy. They equally could say no to that. But if I'm a parent and my kid can be on the bus for 27 minutes one way instead of an hour, I'd sure think that it would go up. But you know what? You got to vote your conscience. We got a lot of tough decisions coming, and you know, maybe we can revisit it again sometime soon. But I was told that Caledonia is bringing it back after Labor Day, and it sounded very favorable. But they also had people who've been in HVED for much longer than I down there able to answer questions. And so I agree, communication has not been awesome. It's been a very
Appreciate your hard work on it.
It's been a very reactive, not a proactive approach.
Yeah.
So, yeah. But the need's not
Bringing
going.
us the good stuff.
Yeah, well, the need's not going anywhere. And, you know, the community survey, the last community survey that we did, I believe ALC, Alternative Learning Center was.
Number 1.
Was that number 1? Okay.
Pretty sure.
That's a big concern.
As a board member for the last, 10 or 11 years, my angry parent calls, the majority have been special ed related. Why didn't my kid's teacher know that he couldn't read and he didn't find out about it until Christmas? Or whatever it is. It's so, nothing's perfect, but vote your conscience. And maybe we can bring it back and see how it goes.
Okay, any other discussion?
Good discussion.
Let's take a roll call vote, please.
Darcy Cody.
So the motion on the table is to not approve the HVAC Joint Powers Agreement as written.
I vote yes to not approve the HVAC Powers Agreement as written.
Greg Strelka.
I vote yes.
Nikki Miller, I vote yes to not approve. Danielle?
Yes.
Eric?
I'll vote no. to.
Respectfully, Jeff Conway is out. April Carlson,
I vote yes. Okay, so the motion to not approve has passed. 5-1. Thank you, everyone. Good discussion.
Definitely like to see it come back with some more information and a little more details.
yep, a little more transparency.
Yeah.
Okay, we are at number 5, which is an update on handbooks.
Okay, so,
Move to.
what's that?
Is this review or action?
Just a quick
No, this
update.
is just
Just a quick update. So what has happened in order to get registration done as quickly as possible? The handbooks went, as the principals assured me, were corrected to policy, as we discussed at the last meeting. I have to be honest, I have not had time to go through and make sure that it was done. I had to take them at their word. So, but my plan is that they will come to the board in September. I just want to get the principals' school started and ready to go, and then I'm letting them know that they need to come in then. The joint handbook probably will not be completely ready for September, but I'll be bringing that once we get it finalized and the language set for right now to have just those two. And the Lancer Way documents, which is the code, basically almost everything is done in there. I just have to do a comparison between the elementary like rubric for offenses to what was written in there, because they added a few other things in there. And my plan is staff handbook will come before the board in September also. So it's mostly draft form now.
So will you be, we confirm, I don't know, some of you might not have seen the email, but I did work with Brittany. We confirmed in writing with MSBA that handbooks do not need board approval.
Great.
They can come to the board if the superintendent would like them approved by the board, or they can come as informational, but it is not required that they have board approval. So when you bring them in September, are you bringing them for just informational or approval? Or you don't know yet?
Well, there's a couple of questions I have for board.
Okay.
At this point. Okay. I have brought in previous situations the handbook to the board for approval. And basically I do that because then everyone knows on the front end and nobody's surprised if something comes up later, you know. And so that is, you know, if the board would like that.
I personally do. I think the transparency needs to be there, but then if we're getting community questions,
then you
about
guys know
anything,
about it,
then
you've
we
seen
have-
it, the community knows that you've had your stamp of approval on it.
It's good for accountability, I think.
And that,
And I think it shows support from us to the admin.
Yeah, because
For
I
the
pulled out
community.
exact
Yeah.
language from the prom section of the handbook during
And
prom
put it
time
in.
and sent it to
Yeah.
someone. And, you know, I knew it was in there because we
Went
seen it.
through it.
I'm totally fine with approving handbooks. My ask is that they align with policy, and that we're doing what's in the handbook. So that's been my experience in my time on the board is the handbooks say something, but we don't do that. We do something else. And to me, that's a bigger challenge I think we need to address.
We do something else or we don't do anything. We don't follow.
Right.
Yeah.
and so that's kind of where we'll be at. And like I've been joking with everyone, my last few weeks, and actually the summer, is just always super busy in the district office and everywhere else. However, we were just talking earlier today, Brittany and I, that after about 2 weeks in September, there won't be any more registrations to do that are last minute and coming in. Stephanie will have everyone in payroll and that'll be set. Hopefully the contract is settled so she doesn't have to do too much retro pay, etc. And for me, as soon as the kids come back to school on Tuesday of next week, nobody wants to see the superintendent for at least a month. So it'll probably be MEA before they ever want me poking my head in there. So I should have time in between to line those up and make sure that they're, I just, in all transparency, have not had the time to do it right now.
Okay, anything else on handbooks?
Nope.
Any other questions or comments? We are on number 6, meal prices. Do you want me to read this one?
Can we just do a move to approve?
Absolutely.
Price increase.
5 cent, everyone good with a nickel?
I second.
All right.
Okay, all in favor of the 5-cent price increase, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? I forgot discussion. Any discussion? No. Okay.
I do have a little bit of discussion. I understand that the state is paying for everybody's lunch this year. Some kids, I know we're starting like the backpack help for home, but some kids, maybe this is the only meal they get, and so they do have seconds and thirds. Does the free and reduced help offset this cost or not when it's the seconds?
No, the legislature gave 1 breakfast and 1 lunch per kid.
Okay.
That's
And when is breakfast served?
Starting
At the elementary is 7:35.
7:35, something like that, yeah.
Isn't the issue with breakfast at the high school though supervision? Because then they'll eat in the courtyard or whatever, and somebody didn't like that, or.
I think, I mean, there could be a little part of that. I think the bigger problem is socialization. High school kids like to socialize or come in late. You know, if they don't ride the bus, they come in later. Sometimes the buses get there at different
Well, I
times,
understood
so.
the problem to be that the buses come too late for
Yeah.
the kids to even get breakfast.
For them,
So then
yeah,
they
and
don't
that's,
have that
the
as an
busing
option.
issue is kind of a piece there too. And then taking the food back to the classrooms because custodians really didn't want them eating in the classroom,
Yeah,
so.
that's what Mr. Feldman didn't like, is they were like walking down the hall eating the stuff and.
But if they don't get here in time and the bell rings and they have to get there to
Well,
class,
and I
we
can
have to
work
find a
with
way that
Reddy.
Is
these
there a
kids can eat.
Is there a potential for a second breakfast, like between first period and second
that's
period
good.
or something?
They all have flex in the morning. Could they make it in time for that roll call and then go eat? If they have flex, or if they have homeroom, if they're middle school.
I think those are all good suggestions. Let me run them by people and see what can happen, because we want our kids to be able to eat. And also the other thought, my thought was talk to Ready Bus
I was gonna mention
and just
that.
say, you know,
Create a
if
schedule.
that's a huge issue, would it be easier for the little kids to get dropped off second? And they just reverse, instead of dropping elementary first, drop high school first, and then come over to the elementary and go out?
I know my kids get here pretty late on the bus.
Huh?
My kids get here pretty late on the bus.
Okay.
Oh, yeah.
To this building or?
Yeah.
No. Okay.
No, to the
No,
other
the other
side.
way, yeah. Because I think right now they come to the elementary first
Yeah,
and
they
go over
do.
there.
I've always thought that was really odd.
Yeah,
I'm sure
and-
there's a reason, but is it just because we've always done it that way,
I
or is
think
it
it
because
is.
it makes the most sense?
Well,
I
and
think
they have
it
the
is a-
little kids sit in the front of the bus, so then the big kids would all be walking past them.
And that, I mean, that could be a part of it. It could be that we've always done it that way. It could be that little kids take so much longer that it could be location, because I think they come
They
out
get
of the
the
high
wiggles.
school and then they have the bus parking spot that's down, you know, in that area down by the water. And so it could just be routing cycling, you know, that if they came here, then they'd have to take a different way down there that might not be as easy. But I can talk to them and figure it out. Reddy's been very good working with us.
So is
And-
anyone receiving benefit from the free and reduced lunch program, or
Still.
if it's free for everyone?
You still fill out paperwork for it, because then we receive benefits through
But I bet
the
we'll have
state
less.
for other things, like
compensatory
testing.
aid
sports
and
fees.
federal.
Let's say we
Like
switch pushes
Yeah,
sports
that
fees
would be
and-
the, that would
so
be
that
the
would-
thing, is they would get the
Yeah.
sports fees that are
ACT
reduced and,
fees.
yeah.
So that'd be
So
one
it's
way.
still, we have to push for them to fill it out, because historically, when we were doing COVID free meals for all, we were getting way less applications, which a lot of those families could have received benefits from that.
One good thing in Minnesota is they recently started doing things with like Medicare and direct certification for that, and I mean it significantly increased our rates just because of that.
And I just want to do a shout out to Brittany on this. She's the brains of this. She keeps it all going. And she's got it
a few times last week.
all straight. And last week was very tough for her.
Is registration open?
It is.
Okay.
Yeah, I know, nothing's been out yet.
Okay, just asking.
Well, I'm waiting to hear back if anyone has sent, I'm waiting to hear from one more building, but I don't think anyone sent it, and no one officially told me that it was on there. We're gonna
Updated
expect-
kindergarten number?
It's close to 60 now.
Oh, that's better.
And I mean, they just keep coming through every day. Some of them are existing students.
I know we're still talking about meal prices, so sorry, but.
56?
That's all we don't have a middle school choir teacher, and so we
Not yet, no.
have to put those kids in an extra art class.
For the time being, yeah, we're gonna continue looking. And we can make, that's why we're doing the extra classes, because we can just pull it from one, put them in the other, if we can find the staff. We thought we had a staff member for it. However, because one, and I don't know which church it was, but there was a church in town where the youth minister, I think it was going to come over and take a full-time position. I was really looking forward to it. And then the pastor left. And he felt that the church was in a little flux, and so he didn't want everyone in the congregation to have 2 new people. And so he backed out kind of last minute on us. But we did get, on Friday, we hired a Spanish teacher, a 1.0 Spanish teacher. So I was happy about that. And I met him today. Great kid. Had his plan, so this is just all the stars aligned, because his plan was that he was going to go teach abroad, and there was some health thing that came up where he had to wait and couldn't go over, and so had already resigned his job and was just looking for a spot, and so stars aligned for everyone. So he has a job, we have a teacher,
Awesome.
and it's great.
Not
Meant
that
to
we're
be.
glad he had a health.
No,
No.
not at all.
But we're
We
glad.
do, I think we were left to still vote on the meal.
Yes.
Okay.
Did we
Oh, yeah.
I thought we all voted.
Just
I
had a
thought we had
motion and a
discussion
second,
after.
we already
We
voted.
Voted
Pardon
on
me.
it, and then the discussion.
There we
after
go.
that.
Okay,
Oh,
sorry
yes.
about that. I
But I
thought we
moved to
derailed.
adjourn.
I motion to
Adjourn?
adjourn?
Darcy did.
Darcy.
Oh, did you? I second that though.
Okay, we are adjourned.
Thank you.
All right.
Thanks, you guys.
I had a